over our 20 years of history, we've only raised the price of a Pathtag 2 times before this year.
Mm-hmm.
We went ahead and we tried to get ahead of what we thought was going to be a 10% tariff, but it went from 20% to 145%, and I don't think anybody really anticipated that.
Hello, friends and adventurers. Welcome to TGIF Geocaching Radio. If it's your first time listening, please consider subscribing to the podcast or to Cache the Line on YouTube, wherever you're listening. All right, well, I want to dive into this episode's topic as it could be considered a heavy one. I sat down to chat with Mike Wunderlich about Pathtags and its past and its future. This episode touches on some topics that may be or are controversial politically speaking, so we're going to try to keep it as neutral and objective as we can because we love this game and we love this company. A number of things have transpired since recording this interview, so stay tuned to the end to hear what Mike and Rusty are up to now. All right, let's get to it. All right, so I am here with Mike Wunderlich from Pathtags to talk about what's been happening, its past and its future. And so, Mike, hello.
Hello.
What is your role with Pathtags? How long have you been with the company and whatnot?
So I'm one of the founders / inventors of Pathtags. It was three of us to begin with, me, Rusty, and Ben. Ben exited in 07, I think, and then Rusty and I have been carrying on ever since. So almost 20 years. Next year, August, will be our 20th anniversary. So
that is impressive. And that was launched just for geocaching, or was it for other things as well?
So brief history of our company. In 2005, I started the Midwest Geobash in Ohio, and the first year we did it, we rented a couple pavilions and racked up like a $700 rental fee, and I needed to cover that, so I made a geocoin, and it was really neat, and people responded well to it, and they were cool. The first one we had to hold, and it was really neat to have actually produced one ourselves, and I did a few I was also a founder of Michigan Geocaching Organization, so we did a few for that for fundraising, and it was kind of neat, and Rusty and I were both co-founders of Michigan Geocaching Organization, so we knew each other from there. We were at an event, I don't remember which one, but we were sitting around a campfire, and we were like, these are really cool. We were admiring the coins. We were like, these are really cool, but wouldn't it be neat if we did like one every month, and people could subscribe to it like the Franklin Mint or a magazine? And so we decided to do it, and we launched the Geocoin Club in August of 2005, and started making geocoins monthly, and then geocoins kind of took off as a thing, so we opened up the geocoinstore.com, and we began selling just retail coins for a while, and then because of that, people started coming to us and saying, hey, can you make me a geocoin? And we were like, sure. And then we'd tell them how much it would cost, and their eyes would get wide, oh, that's a lot of money. I don't want to spend that much money. And so we started talking about that, and it was actually funny because when we originally did the Geocoin store, geocoins were selling so fast that a traditional e-commerce site would, between the time that you would send people to PayPal or whatever to make their payment and they would come back, that amount of time gap was enough that there were so many people lining up to buy geocoins then that you would oversell. The inventory control had to be real time, and nothing out there did real time. So I actually am a software developer by trade. So I wrote an e-commerce site, very simple one for selling geocoins that did real time inventory control. And we started selling a lot of the coins through there for a while because we could sell them without that overrun and the frustration. So then in 2006, things had calmed down a little bit, and we wanted to launch just a standard e-commerce store. And in that, we wanted to add some new stuff to entice people to come and visit our website. And so we started brainstorming new product ideas, and then the idea of like, okay, a lot of people want geocoin, personal one, but they're very expensive. So maybe we can introduce like a mini coin that was affordable to everybody. And at first we were just going to make them with our own ideas and designs on them, and then we kind of drifted into this idea of like, wouldn't it be neat if we let people send their own design to us, and then we'd make their design on essentially a coin. And so we came up with the concept of Pathtags, and in 2006 in August we launched it. Our goal was to have 100 orders by the end of the year, and we just barely eked it out. Then we did a promotional special early in 2007, and that got us some traction. And then by sometime in 2007, we went to the GeoCoin Fest in Temecula to promote it. And by then, we had a fairly decent, start. And it was kind of funny because by then, I'd started the Michigan Geocaching Organization, started the Midwest Geo Bash, and then Pathtags and GeoCoin Club. And someone came up to me in Temecula and said, "Does anybody famous have a Pathtag?" And I said, "Well, I've got one." And they didn't think that was funny. Apparently I wasn't famous. So anyway, but yeah, that's how everything got rolling. And then from there, just kind of status quo. We introduced shapes at some point so people could do something a little different.
Yeah.
And then over the years, we just evolved a little at a time. Now I'd have to look, but actually I'll look right now. There's 52,529 distinct designs of Pathtags today.
Wow.
That's
a good trivia question.
Yeah. And one of the features of our website, so Pathtags are neat as a product, but I think one of the things that makes them really cool is that they have the Pathtag website to go with them. So on that website, you can keep track of your collection, and you can actually do a lot of trading. So a lot of people trade these through the mail and online with each other. And so as of today, we've transacted over 1 million trades between people around the world. So
wow. Yeah, you've kind of developed your own world of trading and design. It's like it's a big project, and 20 years, man.
Yeah. So then I think topic of today, right, is the current state of things. But after 20 years, we've had the big curveball thrown at us. This few months later, a few months past of the tariffs. So.
Yep. So if anybody is listening and hasn't seen, especially on geocaching social media, like Facebook and perhaps most likely some other places, there's been a little bit of difficulty with Pathtags, and that is the big topic right now, which hopefully we'll be able to chat about this. Well, we will chat about on this episode about the impact of China tariffs on Pathtags and all the difficulties that the community has been facing with delivery and shipment and orders and all that. So I actually wanted to ask, but you've already answered it. For anybody who doesn't know what Pathtags is, how would you describe Pathtags in one sentence?
They are a quarter-sized, personalized mini geocoin type of thing. They are made of metal. The design is stamped into them, and the colors are applied with enamel. So they're pretty cool. They're very attractive. And then on the back side, we have a library of pre-made designs that you can select from. That's one of the ways we keep the cost down. Is we don't charge you for two sides of setup. We only do the one side of setup. Also, kind of makes things easier. Like I know as a coin designer, I'm not an artist. I'm not claiming to be an artist, but I come up with concepts for designs. The hardest part is always come up with the concept for the second side of a coin. You have a great idea for one side, and then it's like, now how do I do a second side that's kind of tied in and is just as cool as my first idea? But that's what makes, I think, Pathtags a lot more accessible. You don't really have to have this two-sided thing going on either.
It's like one round little canvas that you can stamp your design, your painting on.
Yeah, and because they're smaller and they're about the size of a U.S. quarter, they're easy to transport. So if you order 100 of them, it's not like you need a dolly to get them around, and displaying them is a lot easier. Organizing them is a lot easier. We can take advantage of things like there are supplies out there for collecting quarters, right? And so you can use those same supplies and materials to organize and display your Pathtags. So we get to kind of piggyback on some of those things as well.
Yeah, and I think you kind of tapped into the coin collector mentality. It's like coin collecting was a huge hobby already, and who knows how many coin collectors are also geocachers. So you kind of already have an overlapping demographic when it comes to path tags and geocaching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So on back to this big topic, what exactly has been going on with path tags, and how would you describe the difficulties that you're facing right now?
Well, for us, I think the challenge is not that tariffs came into play. It was how they were rolled out. We take orders today, and then it takes 4 to 6 weeks for production to complete. So we take the customer's money today, based on what we think we're going to end up paying for the product, plus something for our time and the website and all the other stuff that goes along with the providing the service. And then we get charged from the factory when the product ships to us, so we get the invoice then. And then traditionally, over 20 years, we've had this benefit that there weren't any tariffs on our product. Like, we had 0 tariffs for 20 years. So coming into the year, we anticipated that there were going to be tariffs applied, with the new administration, and we took some steps to address that. And for over our 20 years of history, we've only raised the price of a path tag 2 times before this year. We went ahead and we tried to get ahead of what we thought was going to be a 10% tariff, and we added in 10%. Then it turned out to be 10%, but then they added another 10% really quickly, so we responded to that by adding a little bit more. And then we figured it might go up a little bit from there, but we'd be okay. We would just sort of weather the situation, and if we had to kind of eat a 10% tariff, we would. We were in a situation to handle that, but it went from 20% to 145%, and I don't think anybody really anticipated that.
Yeah.
And because of the situation, is we take orders today, and then we deliver them in 4 weeks. We pay the tariff when the order comes to us from China, and we pay the tariff. Like, that's the thing I think that needs to be said, is this is not a tax on the factory in China that we're buying from. This is something that we as a business have to pay when the product comes here.
Yeah.
So what you saw
it's kind of like a cash on demand from couriers coming and saying, now you've got to pay so that we can give it to you.
Yeah, and I
it's
think
that
what's
sort
different,
of thing, but you've already got the cost out there from the people, and so who's going to pay it? It's got to come out of your pocket.
And the difference between us and some other businesses that do their manufacturing in China is that they can stockpile. Like, if they knew this was coming, you could buy a whole bunch of refrigerators in December and put them in a warehouse anticipating this. Every one of our orders is custom, right? So we can't do that. We have to take the orders as they come. And we just had to kind of play the odds, and unfortunately, there's no way I would have ever imagined 145%. So, we played the odds, and I think we're going to be kind of on the short end of the stick because of this. And,
and I guess you can't really hold the product hostage until people, you can't just say, okay, we have to charge you more now for you to get your product. It's like, that's not fair to the customer at all. So
it's not fair to the customer, but and we're not doing that. But at the same time, that might mean we have to go out of business, right? So, I can't weather 145% deficit on these, right? It's just not something we have in the budget. So
and it doesn't even have anything to do with the quality of the product either. It's just would people be even willing to spend 145% more to get the same product, right? It's like it goes beyond a limit of reasonableness.
I'll tell you that some people are, because we have adjusted our pricing, right? As soon as it went to 145, we adjusted our pricing. We're in I would say, like, life-saving mode right now from a company perspective. So we're trying to we put our prices where they needed to be. One of the things that we've always had this nice advantage of is, we take the order today, and the order comes in 4 weeks from now, but we take your money today, and we use, that money to pay for your product when it comes in. And so we've always paid out of our proceeds, essentially, right? That worked great until now. And what's really frustrating to me as a business owner is we've managed this company well. We've managed it fairly and equitably for all these years. We've tried to maintain our pricing, to where margin would get narrow, but we'd deal with it, and then we'd have to bump the price. But like I said, 2 times in 20 years we raised the price, really. And so
even in the face of inflation, like that's a big deal.
Inflation,
not
raising
your prices.
raising costs of materials, raise of labor costs. So to have it all, just sort of be pulled out from under you, it's a little disappointing. So like, if this had been done a little differently, like if we'd even had like 4 weeks warning, because that's our time in production, right? We probably could have handled this differently, but it really put us in a lurch where it was like we've already incurred costs of production at our production facility, right? And so if we make the decision just not to pay them, then we're out of business for good on everything ever, forever. They'll never work with us again. So then, you can't go back to 100 customers and say, I need more money, right? That's not like fair, like you said, but it's also kind of impractical to try and do that. So you get to be playing the odds, and it's like, I don't know. And what I was saying to you, kind of off the thing, is the significant disappointment was we were looking at a really good year, right? So Pathtags have been, back in the day, they were like Beanie Babies for a while, right? They were doing really well. And so for the last maybe 5 years, they've been okay. They've been all right. I mean, we're not going to walk away from it, but they weren't like they used to be. And they were kind of on a downswing last year. But then all of a sudden at the end of last year and then heading into January, we saw this
25 years of geocaching. Big year.
Yeah, we saw this upsurge, which was great. We were really excited about that. Here was some new life coming back in. We actually had a new project that we had been planning for a while, and so we were really excited. We're like, wow, we can really take advantage of this, and we were excited because January was our best year in 5 years, our best month in 5 years. We were really excited about that, but it turned out to be a curse in the end because we took all those orders under pre-tariff pricing that we are now obligated to deliver, and it's going to put us pretty close to bankrupt. So, in a time period, in a quarter, from January to now, where we should have been, taking some proceeds out of the business as individuals, and like I've said to you, I have a regular job, so this for me is nice money to have. So it won't be the end of me, but this is Rusty's income. This is his income, and there's a lot of small businesses in that situation right now. So in a period where we should have been taking, income from the business, we actually are, it's substantial income, by the way. I mean, it's not like millions of dollars, but it's a living. Instead of taking that living, we're now going to have to pay out of pocket to cover these tariffs, and so we have to go into our savings, right? Or we have to take out loans, or we just have to say, you know what, we're out of business, and we're going to leave everybody else, leaving them holding the bag, and that's not right? We don't want to do that. So we've been put in a position where we either, screw a lot of people, or we take the, financial hit ourselves. And we've just decided we're going to do the right thing, as hard as it is, and hopefully we can recover. But it will take us a year. If we recover, it will take us a year. And that's really, it's just a hard feeling to have, because we've done well, we've managed the business correctly, we've done right by our customers all these years, and everybody says don't bring politics into Pathtags, but it's difficult when there's one person in the world that did this to us. It's hard not to acknowledge that. One person in the world that could have done this differently, and it wouldn't have hurt as bad for a lot of people, including ourselves. And then, just to watch nothing get done about it. I don't know. And just to be left in the lurch. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go from here. We've looked at every angle, obviously. And, people say, well, just make it in America. And it's like, that's a pretty naive take on the whole thing. We've been doing this 20 years.
Hmm.
So the idea that we haven't explored that is ludicrous on the face, right?
Hmm.
We're Americans. I'm a patriot, right? If I could be doing this in the United States, and we would even offer it as an option, knowing if it was more, but it's like so
Hmm. Sure.
ridiculously much more
Yeah.
that to do it, it just doesn't make sense. So we've never offered it. We've explored it.
Imagine when you're buying path tags, if there's an option for it could be a more expensive option, but it's by homemade, by homegrown. Like,
Yeah, and
where do you want your coins manufactured?
we've looked into it, but I mean to put it in perspective, we're probably talking 6x, not a couple x. We're talking like 6x
Yeah.
for the same amount. No one's going to do it. So to
Yeah.
put the money and time into building out those features on the website just didn't make sense, and it never has, and it never will. Secondly, we've looked at building our own capability, right? So Rusty and I are smart, capable entrepreneurs. We've been doing this a long time, and we went to small business administration meetings. We looked at getting financing. We, looked at building stamping machines in our own facility in Michigan, and the cost to do that, to establish that. I mean, I think people underestimate. Like they say, well, just bring the production back to America, and it's like that takes time. All right, it takes time. Number one, and number two, I don't know where people think the manufacturing equipment comes from. Right. So we were in the process of looking at a new project, right, to enhance Pathtags, and that was going to be an in-house production. But the equipment we need is only sold in China. So it's kind of an irony to me. Like everybody's like, we're going to do this so we bring back production to America, but now I can't afford to do what I was going to do because the equipment I need. I'll take it back. It's not only sold in China, but it's the same situation. I can buy what I need from a supplier in Florida, and it's $19,000, right? I can buy what I need from a supplier in China, and it's $6,000. Even with the tariff, it's cheaper to buy it from China. So it's difficult. We don't have the capability or the capacity to do the things that need to be done here, and even we do, I don't think people get the fact that it's not like a few bucks more. It's like quadruple the bucks more.
Yeah.
So
it's not like inflation over time, or it's not like a new tax that's being added on. This is like double the cost sort of thing.
Yeah. If you can get it done. And that's the other thing too, is like there's only so much capacity here. So now if you force everybody in the country who's using China for their manufacturing to bring their stuff onshore at once, there's no way. It just can't be done. So I don't know. It's a tough spot to be in, and I think there's a lot of people out there in that spot. So
so is it that the all the stuff that is manufactured in China, is it that it gets delivered to the U.S., to you guys, and then you ship it out to the destinations? Is that why?
That's been our practice, yeah. That hasn't been a problem.
Yeah.
But here's the thing too, is my understanding of the whole thing is even if we shipped it somewhere intermediate, unless they unpackaged it and relabeled it, which to me borders on fraud. I've had my factories come to me and say, hey, we'll just drop the price on our invoice to like next to zero, and I'm like, don't do that. I mean, I don't want to go to jail, right? I don't want to see my kids graduate from behind bars. I want to watch them grow up. I want to watch them graduate, high school and go to college, and I don't want to be in prison for any of that. So it's I'm not going to do anything that's fraudulent, but there's people like, well, just send it to Canada and have repackaged. Well, who would I send it to in Canada? Like, this is thousands of dollars.
It's like
in product.
establishing a redistribution center in another country, right?
Yeah, on the spot, and it's two of us, and it's like, I don't think people get, like, we spend our time running the business. We don't have the time and the capacity to completely rebuild our business overnight. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
So we've been looking at every angle, and like the word that drives me most crazy right now is the word just. People who say just do this, just do that, just do this. It's like
It sounds so simple until you're actually in that spot and you've got to do it.
Yeah, they're like, just use another supplier. Just move your production out of China. Well, even if I decided I wanted to do that today, the thing is, one of the things that makes Pathtags affordable is that we have this library of backsides that you can choose from that are already set up at the factory. We pay those setup fees to the factory. So if I were to move to a different factory, number one, I'd have to re-establish that whole library of backsides with them at my cost, which would be thousands of dollars. I would have to review every single one of them to make sure they look like they used to, right? I'd have to get them, when we set up a new manufacturing partner, I don't think people understand, we vet them very carefully.
Yeah. Well, was it just recently, I think, you had a change in how the manufacturer you worked with the enamels, and then people were noticing differences with the same designs, and they weren't quite the same quality and whatnot. Like, that is an issue.
Yeah. But yeah, if we move it to another place, I need them to send me samples of their enameling. I need them to, like, if we're going to use glitter, we offer glitter. I need to make sure the glitter that we have been using matches the glitter that they have, right? And if not, I need them to adjust. Right? It takes months for us to set up a new production partner. And there's a significant cost. So it's not something you can do on a dime. It's not something you can do if you haven't saved up for it and planned for it. So to have that thrust upon you too, it's really not an option either. And the quality does matter. Like, okay, so we decide tomorrow, let's do this in Bangladesh instead of China. First of all, that doesn't accomplish what the tariffs are allegedly supposed to accomplish, of bringing the production to America. And number two, now I've taken a massive risk. Will I ever get these things? I've been working with this production partner of mine in China for 20 years. Like, I know them. I literally know them. I know their quality. I know how they treat their workers. I know what they do for testing of the enamels I have. I know there's no lead in them and bad stuff. I've put a lot of time and energy into making sure all this is good. I don't know if I have that same level of assurance if I went to somebody in India or Bangladesh. We started in South Korea, right? I don't know. It's just a tough thing. There's really not a great solution, right? And right now, we think for us, the best solution is just to push through and hope that cooler heads prevail, because in essence, I mean, a lot of people have been calling it a tariff, and in my own private conversations, I refer to it as an embargo. My point of view is that the tariffs are so high on both sides that it essentially means we've suspended trade with each other. If it stays the way it is, I think realistically, knowing what I know about making stuff in China, we have about 3 weeks before it gets really obvious to the American public what these tariffs are doing to our supply chain, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the general public understands the amount of stuff we get from China. And the variety of ways
world.
it shows up in
I
our
think
life.
every country does.
It's everything from our clothing to our electronics, right?
Yeah.
Everything we're using right now for this conversation, I guarantee you almost everything was made in China. So it's tough. It's tough to just be like, all of a sudden, let's shock that to the point where both entities cut each other off. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping things are going to shift in enough time that we can recover. In the interim, we are going to have to take out a loan or something to cover our losses, and that's a really disappointing thing. Over 20 years, we've never had to do that. And it's not because of a mismanagement on our part, right?
Yeah, I don't think so at all. So these strategies you're trying to employ right now to stay afloat, you don't think they're long-term sustainable? They're more just short-term patchwork in the hopes that things will change? Because if they don't, then...
Well, we've done what we can do. I mean, one of the things we tried to take advantage of is this de minimis exemption that existed until yesterday. Under that, you could bring in a shipment under $800 retail with no tariff. So what we typically do is we get a weekly shipment. The weekly shipment's pretty big. So what we started doing is, as soon as we had a set of products that were around $800, we'd have them pack them up and send them. there's a substantial cost to doing that, because every order that comes off the dock has a dock fee. And then you know, you don't get the economy of scale that you get when you ship a lot of things at once, when you ship a lot of little packages.
Right. Yeah.
So, but the flip side is it's way less than the 145% tariff. So we brought as much in as we could in that time frame, using that tactic, and honestly, that probably allowed us to stay afloat. Period. Until we realized we could leverage that, we just were preparing to shut down.
Yeah.
Now we're in damage control mode. Like I said, it's tough because we're going to be putting money into the business in a time frame where we should have been getting money out of the business. And so the downside too is, we have adjusted our pricing for the current tariff of 145%. So if someone places an order today, that fee incorporates the tariff.
Yeah.
So if we have to bring it in at 145, but that's also, who knows, it could be 700% tomorrow. I mean, it's being done without rhyme or reason or notice. So
Yeah.
we are living in constant concern that even at the current pricing, which covers us currently, we still could have this bomb dropped on us tomorrow for all we know.
Yeah. At worst, is it at the point where perhaps, if necessary, you could suspend the business for a while? Like it wouldn't be a matter of it has to go out of business and never come back. If at worst, would it be able to take a pause until things cool down and then start taking orders again? Is that a possibility?
I don't know. We have a run rate. We have a website. We have other things that we pay for. We pay for mail service so that our email goes out in a reliable fashion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's cost to just running the website, and so, could we theoretically put it on pause? I think for a little bit. And would that be with zero impact? I mean, I don't. Obviously not. We would.
I don't think there's any solution with zero impact.
Yeah, no. And so, I mean, so our orders were down 50% in April, right, from March. I'm expecting they'll be down 50% again. So that's the other part of it, is we're putting money in that we probably will never get back out if things don't turn around. I mean, it's the writing's on the wall. I mean, we've priced where we need to be to stay afloat, theoretically, but our customers are obviously, some of them are still ordering, which is great, and we really appreciate it, but the bulk of them have, we've crossed the threshold. There is a threshold where people are like, that's too much, right? And I think we're there.
Yeah.
So
have you I think you created a 25 years of geocaching Pathtag back.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Have you thought about creating a special one for this is a tariff tag? And, like with their increased prices, so that people can collect these ones that they know were extra costly because they were within this death spiral zone.
Yeah, no, I haven't thought of that.
Because it can add collectible value to them, and then maybe people will be willing to pay more just to have that extra support for Pathtags. Pathtags is one thing that's obviously been affected by the tariffs, but you mentioned GeoCoin Club as well, and I remember you posting. You've got a few companies all kind of connected. There's Pathtags, GeoCoin Club, and Direct Mint, I believe.
Yep.
So can you explain like how these companies are connected and how they're all being affected by this?
So it's just sort of an evolution. Like, I don't remember when we told the story, but it all started with GeoCoin Club, right? It was me and Rusty sitting around a fire going, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could send out GeoCoin every month? That was in 2005. Started that business. Went pretty good. And then so we got into the coin craze around middle of 2005, early 2006. Things were going crazy. So we had the GeoCoin store launch, and then we introduced Pathtags in August of 2006, and then a lot of people still were asking us to make personal coins for them, so we launched Direct Mint. Direct Mint was just our direct, personal coin business. Also, we were trying to do promotions and stuff for just anything. We were trying to go a little bit beyond geocaching, to be honest, but I don't think we got too far beyond that. So those are the setups we have, and we still run them all. GeoCoin Club, right in the heyday, was, great, gangbusters, and then it's sort of, dwindled over time to where it's now just been kind of like it's not that it's like making any real money, but it's our namesake, and it's fun to do, and people still enjoy them. So we've been kind of letting it roll.
And you work with Chris Mackey with a lot of the designs for
Quite a lot.
GeoCoin Club, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
He does a great job for us, always has. And,
he does.
so it's been cool. And we've been really proud over the years of the stuff we've been able to get out there. And, Chris played a big part of that as a designer. But, we kind of fell into some traditions. Like every January would be a functional coin, we decided. So, it was magnifier one year, it was a yo-yo one year, it was a zipper pull, it was a tick remover.
Geocoins that are no longer coins.
Yeah, it was one that you can make a tripod with if you cut 3 sticks and stuck them into the holes. There's one that you can use to hang your backpack when you're outdoors, so it hangs off the ground on a tree. Stuff like that were kind of cool over the years. And then we just Chris just did this like 3-part coin for us, which is really super cool. That kind of puts together as a puzzle. So it was fun, and it was really neat to do it in the beginning. And we were one of the first geocoin producers. In fact, I'll probably have 18 people come out of the woodwork to dispute this, but I'm 99% sure if I wasn't the one who helped Jeremy set the price for geocoin code, I definitely did suggest, and I apologize to everybody, for $1.50 each. So I was one of the first people to talk to him because I was doing the Midwest Geobash coin at the time as an individual. So I started the Midwest Geobash in 2005, and I needed a way to pay for the pavilions we were renting, so we made a geocoin. At that time, I was talking to him, and then I called him back later and I said, hey, we had this idea for this monthly coin club. Would you sell me coins, like the codes? And so that's kind of the way I got into it with geocaching.com. At the time, it wasn't very operationalized. You couldn't just go and buy codes. I think Mountain Bike was the only person in the world at that point had actually gotten codes and put them on something besides the travel bug. So it was pretty early days anyway. So we were kind of there at the beginning, and then we've let it run just because, like I said, it's our namesake. It's kind of fun, but it wasn't making a profit, right? It wasn't making any money really, and so now with these tariffs, it's just unsustainable. So we just said, even at this point, we expect there to be some tariff even after. I don't think 145 is going to stay around, but there'll be something. And even with something, we're not going to be in the black on the GeoCoin Club. So just can't do something every month at a loss. And so, but August will be 20 years, and so we said, let's take it on the chin, and we'll go full 20, and then we'll wrap it up. So that's what we're planning on doing. That's going to be, it's a complication. We've got a burn down document we're working through. So as people's subscription renew, we'll be going and canceling it so it doesn't auto renew again. And then based on when their subscription renews between now and August, we'll be doing a refund to them for the difference on their subscription between what they paid and what they're going to get. So it should be a pretty graceful wind down, a little bittersweet, and it definitely came a little earlier than it might have because of all this. But the writing was immediately on the wall for that particular line of business that we just couldn't keep going with that anymore.
Yeah. So of the company's GeoCoin Club, it seems to be the not the smallest, but I guess the least sustainable, like less sustainable than Pathtags then at this point.
The GeoCoin Club, yeah, for sure. I mean, like it's the same situation but worse because we take subscriptions on for GeoCoin Club. You sign up today and you pay that on your renewal forever. And so if you subscribed 15 years ago, you're still paying what we originally signed.
Getting a huge deal.
Yeah, and so and there's no way to change that. So the only way we could have changed that would be to go through and cancel everybody's subscription and then hope they would resubscribe. But we just felt like that was probably going to be, put us in a worse position than just taking on the smaller margin. But like I said, it's gotten to where the margin got more and more narrow on that because most of our payments were established years ago, and now we're paying for increased materials costs, increase freight costs, increase labor costs, and then you add a tariff on top of it, and it's just like, it's just, you can't do it. And if I can't adjust those prices, I can't be sustainable there. So
Yep.
yeah, that was already kind of, pretty thin, but this kind of put the nail in the coffin. So
Well, to flip the coin a little bit, what are some very strong ways that we can help promote Pathtags and support? Like, are there things that people can do to either pitch in more or to order more? it's almost like shooting yourself in the foot, I guess, because the more you order, the more cost there is. But would it be good if people were willing to pay right now to be able to order more and at least give some kind of infusion to Pathtags to keep it going? Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, obviously orders would be beneficial. The thing is, we adjusted our prices, but we didn't adjust our margin, right? And so we're still making essentially the same amount of profit per order as we were before the tariff, and we need to do that, right?
Yeah.
To be sustainable. But the downside is that that's not a lot of profit. Like, we operate on volume, and so with the price being as high as it is, even if people keep ordering, right? If we could get back to the volume we were at before, that would be great, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's a lot to ask people, right? And so I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is to that question. I think patience is number one thing I would ask for people, like, to understand and be empathetic. Whatever your position is on all this politically or whatever, understand that outside of politics, it has a direct personal impact on people. The impact is real. Rusty's lost his income. I've lost money I was planning on using to send my kids to college, right? So it has a direct personal effect on people. So if you're insensitive, you should probably check that. So I guess that would be the number one thing is patience. Patience is, in our communication, empathy, but also just patience as we figure things out. We got a lot of people that were badgering us for the first 3 days. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know. Like, this was just thrown at us, and
it's not like there's a technical issue you got to figure out. It's like, this is a major business impact.
And not only that, but
quick solution.
It was implemented, as we said, zero notice, zero information. So you are left at a complete disadvantage. You didn't know it was coming, and you have no idea what the parameters are. When will this tariff be assessed? Will it be assessed based on the date the product was shipped from China or the date that it arrives in America? Is it 145% across the board? Then they came over with these carve-outs. Do the carve-outs apply to us? What's a de minimis exemption? Never heard of that before in my life, So one of the things that's always been kind of cool and interesting about this for us is, we're just two guys from the Midwest, I live in Florida now, but I always say we're two guys from the Midwest, and we get to dabble in this international trade stuff, and so it's always been fascinating to me, and we get affected by the price of the dollar, and COVID was a big deal, right? And what was going on in China and what was going on here to counteract the effects of COVID affected us, and we had to manage through that, and so it's been an interesting place to be. Like, it's just Pathtags, but it's a global economy. We have customers everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So if something
and I'd say, like you say, it's just Pathtags, but Pathtags is, in a sense, a very beloved aspect of geocaching. Like, it's not even officially a geocaching thing, but within the geocaching community, it's kind of this a core element of collectability and a huge social element as well. Because I know there's Geo Woodstock, there's Midnight Madness, which is an event that everybody who loves Pathtags goes, and they're taking their whole collection and trading and sharing them and all that. There's, like you said, there's 52,000 plus designs, but it's like there's an endless cap to the number of designs that are out there, and nobody's going to have them all. So everybody's collection is going to be different. It's just this hugely dynamic aspect of geocaching that especially in the Western world and in North America, has really caught on. I know the closest thing in Europe, they've got Woodies, which is kind of the same thing, but bigger and just wooden coins, but and obviously much cheaper because it's just wood. But they do have Pathtags over there, and some people do kind of collect them. But I think it's definitely more of a North American central type of community and product.
We do 30% of our sales outside the U.S., so it's not a small part of that. Unfortunately, everybody's caught up in this because of the path that tags take, coming into us first and then going out. We're looking at options, but again, it's tough because, I mean, who do I send them to in Spain, right? We have customers and I know some people there, but I don't know what it costs for them to reship, right, from their house in Spain to other people. So it's just like, I don't know if it's a reasonable option. It's difficult to do, like, okay, now instead of bringing everything into one destination in the U.S., suddenly I'm going to send the stuff that's ultimately going to Spain to somebody in Spain, and then someone from Australia, someone in New Zealand, someone in Canada, and then have them reship. And then how do we know how much it's going to cost? How do we repay that individual? How do we pay them for their time?
Is it the sort of thing that you might be able to have them just ship directly to the customer? Because I know you like to have the chance to put in the bags and other little Pathtag promotional stuff, which the manufacturer won't do. Yeah. But if they were to send the product directly to the customer, would that help if that's an option?
We emailed everybody outside of the U.S. and we asked them if they would be interested in that option, understanding, like, so here's the thing too, is people don't really grasp how complicated it is to do international sales. So if I send something to Spain, whatever they pay me on PayPal, they have to have an invoice that exactly matches that to go to the post office to get their order. They have to pay additional customs. I don't know if it's taxes or tariffs or whatever their deal is, but if there's a single penny discrepancy, their postal service won't let them collect the order. And so it's like, all right, now I've taken, let's say, $100 from a customer in Spain. How do I communicate to my factory in China that I need you to make sure that invoice says $100? Because if it doesn't, and by the way, that's not what it actually is. So it's sort of a falsification unto itself, right? Yeah. So it's kind of a complicated thing. So even if I wanted to ship them directly to customers, I don't know if I could, because I took money amount that has to and what they. Anyway, it is not very straightforward. It's a little complicated.
It's complicated enough that it's hard to explain even.
And then it's like, okay, if things get tied up and the customer in Spain can't pick up that order, well, normally that would come back to us in the United States, to our delivery address, right? So where's it going to go now? To China? To a factory depot? Am I ever going to see those tags again? So it's like a big risk to just send them off to. At least the way we do it now, the way we've always done it, and the reason we've done it this way is we have control over the whole chain. If something goes wrong, it comes back to us, and we can recover. Yeah. And it's just very hard to pivot in that way for a small business, especially. I mean, just remember, we're not a $1 billion business, right? So.
I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is that pivot would be a key word. I think it's the nature of Pathtags of your business is that it's set in a certain way and it's very custom, and it's just the change in the economics has made it extremely difficult to pivot and continue to be successful.
The other end of it is it's all a calculus, right? If we pivot, there's a pain and there's a cost to pivoting. Mm-hmm. And then what's going to happen? Maybe next week they say, you know what? That's what they did with Canada, right? They threw this tariff on Canada, and then they said for 90 days we're going to roll it back, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so things change so quickly. So if I go to all this pain and effort and cost to completely reinvent my distribution model, then next week they roll these things back. It's all been for nothing, And so then what do I do? Then I re-roll it back. Now I've got a bunch of other people who are mad at me for different reasons. It's like it's a tough rock to be between, And so we are doing the best we can with the whole situation. It's a lot to figure out for just two guys, who were just clicking along for so many years, and then this is a huge disruption. Mm-hmm. So and we had another project we were working on. And it's really kind of torpedoed that too. So we, we're kind of overall just sort of really disheartened by the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I guess, when you ask how can people help us, just continue to be supportive, continue to be patient with us and empathetic towards us, and we appreciate that more than people can know. We get these nice emails from people from all around saying, hey, we're thinking of you guys. I know this is a big mess for you to. Those things mean a lot to us.
Yeah. Any kind of support and donation, anything like that can help as well. Any infusion to help to sustain it just a little bit longer.
Listen, I'm never gonna ask. I'm never gonna beg for money. I mean, we're a
No. Yeah.
business, but
Yeah.
if it gets to that point, and we have to either close up shop or do something, I don't know. Maybe we'll go crowdsource or whatever. But we're looking at things like any business would: lines of credit, loans, personal finances. The bottom line is, it's going to cost us money to sustain, and
Yeah.
hopefully we can minimize that. But we were just before you and I connected on this. Rusty and I were sitting looking at spreadsheets, and it's not looking great. But we've done the best we can. We got a lot of product in under the de minimis exemption, so that was good. But there's a lot of stuff that's still just sitting out there, and we might have to cancel some orders and refund some stuff, and we're just kind of balancing all, like, what's the best path for us, because one way or the other we're losing money.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point, because one thing is for sure, Pathtags has been around a long time, and people, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't like Pathtags. So you guys have been doing a whole lot for the community. You've added so much for the community. You've promoted, and it draws people together. Your website, you have cycling promotions, monthly promotions to help encourage creativity and just kind of pique different ideas, while giving a little bit of a benefit to people each month who are looking for that. So you guys have definitely done a lot, and the way that it's set up makes it easy for lay people to get involved as well. Because I created a how to design a path tag video, which made the TGIF path tag 2 years, well, before the podcast, really near the beginning of the podcast, I think. But when I was doing the videos, but the path tags themselves, anybody can create a path tag.
Yep.
You've set up a system to allow designers to self-promote as well, so that there's a resource for people who can't design things to just sketch out a really bad drawing of what they see, give it to one of these designers who's approved on your website, and then they can create the path tag for you. So it's just, there's so many ways for path tags to get out into the community at little to almost no effort from people. And you've done your best over 20 years to keep it sustainable and cheap and a value-added bonus to this hobby. And so if there's any way that things can work out for the company to keep it going, even if it does have to pause for a bit and then come back, hopefully that is the way forward. Because we don't want to see path tags go, that's for sure.
What we need to keep moving forward, and we need to keep taking orders, because the debt we're going to incur can only be paid off by what we make on future orders. So if we take a pause, we have to take the debt no matter what, but we can't recover from that without going forward. So it's either you go forward and you hope for recovery, or you just shut it all down. I mean, really, I invited Rusty to come along because he's a little less doom and gloom than I am on this whole thing, but that's the calculus of it. I mean, we're looking at just to put it on the table, $20,000 in tariffs this month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
insane.
what we expected. So we're not talking a few $100, right? This is a substantial wound that we're dealing with. The other thing, if you're asking what people can do, whatever your politics are, however much you think we need to negotiate with China, and I'm not saying we don't need to do something on this stuff, but the way it was implemented is damaging to businesses like mine. If you can there's only two groups of people in the world that can make any difference on this. Number one is the guy who did it in the first place, and number two is our Congress. And they came really close this week to passing, something to help maybe put a pause on all of this. It's probably the only way out gracefully for us. If we can get a pause on these tariffs and give us a chance to bring in the orders we've accumulated under a lower tariff or back to where it was, then we can go forward, right? the problem, like I've said, is not that the fact that it happened, right? It's the fact that it happened the way it did. And so if we could hope for anything, it would be a temporary pause on the tariff in China while they do, kind of like what they did with Canada, Mexico, other places, right? But I don't know. So that's where we're at right now. We're hoping for some improvement on that. Give us a window to bring in what we have outstanding with less damage. That could be a big deal for us. Probably the number one thing that could happen that would dig us out of this hole we're looking at being in. So
well, the other things for sure is that regardless of politics, everybody loves Pathtags on both sides of the fence. So hopefully everybody has the same hopes and goals in mind that Pathtags could survive and continue on. Definitely appreciate it all.
Just say too, we're like this is our story right now, but this is not a singular occurrence, right? There's a lot of other small businesses out there going through this exact same conundrum. Everything was fine. They were looking at doing well. They were making a living at what they were doing, and it just got torpedoed. And so I don't know, man. I just hope for some kind of reasonable outcome to all this for those people, and myself included. And, but yeah, I don't know. It's someone said, I hope you live in interesting times. I hope my times get a little less interesting soon.
Just this past decade itself has just been, not even a decade, half a decade has just been crazy for everything, for business and personal lives, and we've just been going through quite a century so far.
It's true. Yeah, COVID and now this. But hopefully this too will pass. We've been doing this for 20 years. Hopefully we get at least a few more.
Well, Mike, I thank you again for coming on to chat about this. It's a tough topic to talk about, but I think a lot of people hopefully appreciate some of the background about the company, about Pathtags, and all that's going on, because there's definitely a lot of questions and a lot of concerns, and especially people who already have ordered, and there's still questions about how that order is going to be fulfilled and all that. It's like crowdfunding 2.0.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for having me here and letting me talk about this. It's cathartic, but also just for everybody listening, our intention is to bring in every order that's been made. All right, we're not going to leave customers hanging. We'll take a hit ourselves before we screw over our customer base. You guys have been good to us for too long, but it's definitely putting us in a precarious position. But we're going to do right by our customers, right? And we're going to do what we have to do. It's going to hurt, and it is what it is. But I just want to say, like, everybody out there wondering what's going to happen with my order, am I going to get it? The answer is yes. When will you get it? Hopefully as soon as possible. We are. I'm just being upfront. We have stopped shipments from China for a moment. And again, my hope is that in the next week or two, we're going to see some change. And if that change occurs, it'll give us a window that won't be as damaging to us as a business. It's a little bit selfish, but we're trying to be strategic about this to be sustainable. So we have brought in as much as we can very quickly up until the 1st of May under the de minimis. We've paused everything else, and we're just going to give it a beat. Usually we bring in an order every week. We're going to wait 2 weeks until we bring in the next order just to see if we can take advantage of some kind of change,
Yep. Well, who knows what will happen. This is a big year for geocaching, so hopefully everything will clear up, and maybe there'll be another big rush of orders, and Pathtags will really take off again for the rest of the year. Who knows? Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. All right, man. Yeah, and if we can, if we can get past all this, then we can start to innovate again. We do have a new project we were working on that we were really excited about, but we've had to put it on pause.
I'd love to hear about that. Hopefully that keeps coming.
Yep, I hope so too.
Well, thanks again, and I hope you have a happy caching day and excellent adventuring.
All right, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
My thanks to Mike for joining me for that chat. I hope you found it revealing and helpful. So we did talk about strategies that Mike and Rusty could use to help keep Pathtags funded and functioning as long as possible. But since recording the interview, they have posted some news and updates about the path forward. Mainly, they have launched a support campaign for anyone who feels led to give a little booster shot to the company and keep them afloat amidst all the extra fees and costs they're facing, and doing everything they can to not pass it on to you. So first, now available in 3 support tiers or infusions, you can purchase available at geocoinstore.com. These support options do come with thank you bonuses that are of little or no cost to them, and those include a $150 Hero Geocoin option, and that gives you 10 Geocoins from their club and store inventory, a $150 Hero Pathtag option, giving you 50 Pathtags, 20 from the PTC back issues and 30 from their legacy samples, and a $500 Champion Pathtag option, which gives you 100 tags from their legacy samples. And as a little thank you bonus, all the supporter names will be listed on the website. Next, they are adding a non-China production option with lesser features, no glitter or glow, and only a couple of tag backs in coming weeks. The usual option will remain with full features and prices in effect. Next, they'll continue working on a new in-house production line. It's been months in the making, and they had to hold back due to, equipment costs. With a look to financing to help things, this option is back on the table. And next, they are working also towards a better and faster website and checkout process. It's a lot of development work, but it is back on the table. But what I'm most excited about, it wasn't clear enough during the interview, is the upcoming project they're working on, which should be launching in June. So stay tuned for any upcoming announcements. So it is important to remember all that Mike has said in this episode. They are committed to providing the best they can to us, the geocaching community, and at great cost and risk to them. So if there's any way you can find to continue to support them, I personally believe it is well deserved. And of course, please be patient while the kinks are worked through and with them as they're dealing with a tremendous load of stress and uncertainty. These are trying times indeed. And on that note, thanks once again to Mike Wunderlich, and thank you for tuning in to this episode. But most importantly, thank you to all the patrons who support Cache the Line and TGIF on Patreon. If you enjoyed this episode, well, I want to ask you to also pledge support for CTL, but if you would, instead direct that support to Pathtags. We love them, I love them, and I'd hate to see them go. And with that, I bid you farewell until next time. As always, happy caching and excellent adventure.